Iron Finance, was it a crypto scam? Was there an exploit? What exactly happened? We have the postmortem report, and this is going to be my final report talking about Iron Finance. I'm going to talk about where we go from here. Hopefully we've been able to learn some lessons. If nothing else, maybe we've learned something about risk management, because I got to tell you, if you're someone who's lost in crypto, as I've lost in crypto, I didn't lose on Iron, but I've lost in crypto. The worst thing you can do is not learn the investment lesson that you needed to learn, because there's always a lesson to learn in life. So let's talk about exactly what happened. They've now come out with their final post-mortem report on Iron Finance. I'm going to read through this and then we're going to talk about it. We never thought it would happen, but it just did. We just experienced world's first large-scale crypto bank run. Around 10 a.m. UTC on 16th of June, we noticed some whales begin to remove liquidity from Iron USDC, then sold Titan to Iron, then Iron to USDC, directly to liquidity pools instead of redeeming Iron, which caused the Iron price off peg. Titan dropped from $65 to $30 in 2 hours, which later recovered in 1 hour to $52, and Iron fully recovered its peg. The protocol and the code functioned as usual, and while we were monitoring the blockchain activity, we thought it's just another correction prior to recovery. In fact, Iron was already off peg at least a dozen times in its entire history, while our share tokens, Titan and Steel, crashed much harder over previous weeks. Things not only seemed battle-tested, they were. Users remained calm and trusted in the code. So did we. While working on the forked code from Frax, we've studied closely all the projects that forked Frax and can't maintain their peg at a later date. For that, we already implemented a lot of improvements, like our dual collateral ratio mechanisms, which already proved to prevent the off-peg problems, which occurred many times in real situations before. I want to pause right here. If you're not familiar with Frax, it's basically the very first project, or one of the first projects, that attempted a algorithmic stablecoin. It ultimately failed, and they're saying, and this development team, part of them came from Frax. So they're saying these are the things that we did to improve upon what happened with the Frax. And to their credit, it so far has worked on the Binance Smart Chain side. It just failed on the Polygon side. So the question is, why did it fail? And that's what they're discussing right here. Later, at around 3 p.m., a few big holders started selling again. This time, after they started, a lot of users panicked and started to redeem Iron and sell their Titan because of how the 10-minute time-weighted average price Oracle works. Titan's spot price drops even further in comparison to the time-swap redemption price. This caused a negative feedback loop as more Titan was created as a result of Iron redemption, and the price kept going down. A classic definition of an irrational and panicked event, also known as a bank run. At the time of this writing, Titan supply is $27 trillion. At some point, the price of Titan became so low, close to zero actually, which caused the redeemed contract to revert the redeemed transactions. We already queued the fix for this, so people can redeem again at 5 p.m. What we just experienced is the worst thing that could happen to the protocol, a historical bank run in the modern high-tech crypto space. Remember that Iron.Finance is a partially collateralized stablecoin, which is similar to the fractional reserve banking of the modern world, meaning the banks in the US and the UK and Australia, the rest of the world. When people panic and run over to the bank to withdraw their money in a short period of time, the bank may and will collapse. And if you're in crypto and you don't know this, you should know this. Your bank and the banks in the world could not pay every citizen the money that they're supposed to have on deposit. It is impossible. They don't have the money. It's called a fractional reserve banking, and it's part of the reason crypto was created in the first place. Postmortem action. So now what? We've learned a great deal from this incident, and while nothing could be fixed in the current system, that's important to note, by the way, nothing could be fixed in the current system, meaning there's nothing they can do to change this. It was a smart contract. You can't change most functions in a smart contract after it's put in place. We will continue our journey with more products in the future. We must conduct an in-depth analysis of the protocol, for which we will hire a third party in order to understand all circumstances which led to such an outcome. Our Iron Bank lending, Iron Swap, Peg Access Focus Swap have been developed already and will be live for testing soon. Iron Stablecoin version 2 will come later. This is important to note. There was no rug pull right here. And CoinDesk, this was said over at CoinDesk. There was no rug pull or exploit. What happened is just the worst thing that could possibly happen considering their tokenomics. This, ladies and gentlemen, was always a possibility. Just like it's possible your local bank, whether it's a small town bank, a regional bank, or whether it's JP Morgan, Your bank, if you go in there and withdraw funds and all of your neighbors and all of your friends and everybody across the countries start withdrawing funds, they're not going to be able to pay you. And that is essentially what happened right here. There was an event that occurred. Panic ensued. The minting function and the redeeming functions were off kilter, and it was not possible to get back on peg. And it's unfortunate that it happened, but that's exactly what happened. This is a potential problem with every algorithmic stablecoin. Now, I want to talk about Mark Cuban because he's since come out and said some things about regulations, which I don't agree with. I think he's dead wrong, and it's unfortunate. The one thing, but I want to talk about where we go from here and what you can do if you still have money over in the protocol. Because some people are still locked in the smart contract. They don't know how to get out. I want to help you, show you at least where you can get some resources to kind of help you get out. It's important to point, though, that this was not a rug pull. This was not someone doing a flash loan attack. This was not an exploit. The tokenomics, this was always possible. If you were in Titan and you were not aware of this, two things. Hopefully going forward now you are. Like, that was the risk. Also, because the people who got hurt the absolute most were the people that were in Titan. And there were people taking loans out to go into Titan, which was crazy because anyone who was taking a loan to go into Titan, you literally just simply did not know what you were doing at the time because you had no way of knowing how volatile. Because in previous algorithmic stablecoins, the steal or the Titan mechanism or the share price mechanism, whatever you want to call it, those mechanisms can drop in price ridiculously fast. And it's part of the reason that I was able to actually get out because I was aware of that. I may do a whole video if you want, explaining kind of my thought process and how I got out. I've had actually 2 people ask me detailed questions about, and they asked me to do videos, but I don't know if you would see that as valuable. So if you would, let me know down in the comments if you want to know what my whole thought process was the entire time, because it was a combination of understanding logic and dealing with my emotions, and I can walk you through what happened if you want me to. It wasn't a rug pull, it wasn't an exploit, and I want to talk about what you can do if you have money over there. I want to talk about what Mark Cuban is doing and what he's calling for right now, which I disagree with, and I think it's unfortunate because Mark Cuban has an incredible platform to be able to help the crypto ecosystem, which you would think he wants to help the crypto ecosystem, but I'm not certain if I fully agree with his current response, at least part of it. So I'll talk about that in a moment. If you have funds stuck on the smart contract, keep in mind it's just a smart contract. You can get them out. If you come over here and you go this last message, which I'll read through this message, it's their final message. I'll end with that. But if you come over here and you click right here, how you can find a complete guide for every LP and single staking pool about how to redeem your investments and how to redeem Iron for collateral, you can come over here and click on that. This is in their Telegram, Iron Finance. You can come over here and you can just follow these instructions and you're going to be interacting directly with the contract, which is not a bad thing. Now, the key is once you unstake everything, you got to make certain that you redeem your tokens. There's over 2 million USDC left unclaimed, meaning it's out of the contract. They're not hitting the collect button after they do the redemption. And because they don't hit the collect button, it stays there. There's $2 million. If anything, this shows that we as investors need to understand smart contracts, exactly what they are and how they work, and make certain that we utilize them effectively. And we need to start asking these questions and try to be aware of this stuff before the proverbial crap hits the fan, so to speak. Let me say this. I want to comment on this postmortem thing. I think it's interesting that they're going to come back into version 2, and I think that's probably a good thing. And I think it will be a healthier project, primarily because the community probably will be skeptical and they will not be as manic. I would bet you the community grows a lot slower. Some people who got hurt by this will never go back into it, which is unfortunate because they don't realize the reason they got hurt had to do with their own greed. And if you understand that, then you recognize that the ecosystem itself, I mean, what they're trying to pull off is huge, and I hope that they can eventually pull it off. So I like they're coming out with a version 2. Hopefully they make some improvements. I'm sure they will. But be careful, ladies and gentlemen. There was not a hack here. There was not an exploit. These devs didn't do nothing nefarious that we know of. So this is general risk in crypto. It is risky. If crypto is risky, decentralized crypto is even more risky. People are calling this degen farming. It was not degen farming. Degen farming is farming a token that has no use case whatsoever. Titan had a use case. That's not exactly degen farming. Buying Titan or farming Titan, holding Titan, investing in Titan, doubling down with a loan, that's being a bit degen because it was a highly volatile asset. I think we have to be more aware of our risk in crypto. If you want to get ahead and you want to make money in the space, you just have to be more aware of the risk. And anytime you think you understand the risk, just multiply it by 10. Just know that the effects may be 10 times worse than what you even expect that they could be. Because I think a lot of people thought Titan could fall. They just thought they would have time to get out. The problem is everybody thought they would have time to get out. Then the Polygon network got congested, and that's just what happens, unfortunately. Now let's talk about what Mark Cuban's done. So Mark Cuban calls for stablecoin regulations in the wake of Iron Finance bank run. It's not the regulations that he calls for, although I find it a little bit ironic. I mean, you're in a decentralized space. Iron was trying to create a decentralized algorithmic stablecoin, partially algorithmic stablecoin. They didn't succeed. Most projects, there's been no long-term successful decentralized stablecoins except for probably DAI. There are some other projects I'm looking into right now, but they're still relatively new. Most projects can run for a while. Just like understand, people have said, can this happen on the Binance Smart Chain side? Yes, absolutely. It already has in some small ways. It's just that Iron eventually did regain peg. But the same mechanism is at play. If it can happen on Polygon, it can happen on the Binance Smart Chain side. What made Titan so bad was just that everybody got in, and it was kind of irrational to see everybody keep going in to a token that was never supposed to go up as high as Titan went up. Mark Cuban's calling for stablecoin regulation, and the problem is with stablecoin regulations, I'm on the fence. Like, I do think that there needs to be something done with stablecoins. The problem is I would prefer a society where we didn't have to have stablecoins. I would prefer a society that we didn't even need to be pegged to the dollar. But if we were going to be pegged to the dollar, I prefer for going forward eventually all stablecoins to be decentralized eventually, if that's possible. Because right now there are certain risks because they're centralized. There's risk with USDC, there's risk with USDT, and people don't realize these risks exist. I'll be doing a later video on that. However, he's calling for stablecoin regulations, and that would help fix some of the issues that do exist in centralized stablecoins. But at the same time, you're almost inviting the government to bring the CBDC, the central bank digital dollars, on board. And so that I don't know how I feel about that. I don't love that idea. Really, I would just love for the space financially, from a financial crypto standpoint, just to stay as decentralized as possible. I think it's a bit weird that Mark Cuban was investing in a decentralized protocol. Obviously, he believed in the project as far as what their goal was. He obviously knew that we need decentralized stablecoins. And kudos to him for recognizing that. But the fact that he now says, I want a centralized government to come in and fix my decentralized problem, that's the part that I find a little bit ironic. Also, Mark Cuban has said repeatedly that he got rugged. Let me see where it's at in here. Billionaire investor and DeFi proponent Mark Cuban has called for a stablecoin regulation after losing money on what he dubbed a rug pull on the Iron Finance protocol. For the last time, he was not rug pulled. This is horrible for the ecosystem to call a project that was run on smart contracts that did operate within the confines of the contract. Unfortunately, the black swan, the rare event, happened. But it's not fair to call decentralized smart contracts rug pulls. I mean, that starts getting you into a scary place. And now all of a sudden, everybody's going to start saying, hey, we need to start creating regulations around everybody's smart contracts. A, that's not possible to do. And B, it's just a dangerous mechanism that's going to hurt development on smart contracts in general. That's not what we want. Whatever you do, ladies and gentlemen, don't call what happened on Iron Finance a rug pull. And the irony that he's a proponent for DeFi, but he's calling for centralization, that irony is not lost on me. Speaking with Bloomberg, Cuban blamed himself for being lazy and not doing enough research. Well, that's good. At least he takes personal responsibility. But also he raises questions surrounding the regulation of stablecoins. There should be regulation to define what a stablecoin is and what collateralization is acceptable. Should we require $1 in U.S. currency for every dollar, or define acceptable collateralization options like U.S. Treasuries? Now, here's the challenge with this. Again, it's just more collateralization, U.S. Treasuries, etc. Here's the challenge right here. So let's just say we define what a stablecoin is. So now, does that kill the possibility that anyone else can create a smart contract and try to create a decentralized stablecoin? Because now they're going to run the risk of creating problems with the government, because the government's going to say, oh no, you're trying to create a stablecoin. You can't do that. For example, you cannot right now go into parking lots and sell cryptocurrency. Local Bitcoins exist. It's where people trade cryptocurrency back and forth. But technically, if you do that in any large quantity, the U.S. government can call you a money exchanger and require you to have a money exchange license. And those people, there are people in jail right now or fighting court battles right now for going and exchanging Bitcoin into a parking lot. Like, that is a real thing. You can look it up. Local Bitcoin lawsuits, or local Bitcoin man goes to jail for trading Bitcoin in parking lots. If you search those things, you'll find articles about this. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to say, this is a stable coin. Only these entities are able to put out stablecoins, or if you put out a stablecoin, it has to meet these criteria. So now you're going to hurt development of someone trying to create a decentralized solution, which I think everybody would agree, if a decentralized stablecoin existed, if it's possible to create that, then that would be far better than all of the centralized stablecoins together. People don't realize if you own USDC, for example, there is censorship risk. USDC, if they wanted to, can do is make them worthless, so you're not able to exchange them. I'm not going to go there. That's part of centralized stablecoin risk. People don't even know that that's a possibility. This guy, DFC God, said it best. Why is it that every time we win an influencer, they turn around and go full whack? Cuban went degen to let's have the U.S. regulate smart contracts from anonymous devs. Exactly. And by the way, I want to say this. The devs at this very point in time, when you wonder why devs are anonymous, this is why. Even though the smart contract acted as it should have, even though every investor should have done their own research, even though every investor should have been aware of the risk before they got in, there are people that would attempt to sue the devs if the devs weren't anonymous. That's why I'm not against anonymity. Anonymous devs can have a positive effect on the ecosystem by encouraging development in a space that they would not feel comfortable developing publicly. Right now, if there was regulations about stablecoins, the only way you could get away with it is to do it in a way that is totally anonymous. Elon went from BTC is money to environment nightmare. Yeah, that's true. All we have left is @Toby, and he just verified his BitClout account. Okay. This part about Mark Cuban, Mark Cuban, I don't think went full degen unless he went deep into Titan. And then you got to ask yourself, how much did you not know if you went deep into Titan? I don't think going into iron itself, if you were just buying iron, I don't think that's degen necessarily at all, understanding that it could lose value. But all you lost on your value was about 70 to 75%. That was the worst case scenario. In the world of crypto, that's not so bad. The guy who had 100% in Titan, he lost it all. Now let's come over here and look at what the final letter basically from the Iron Finance team. Dear Iron Finance community, first of all, we would like to sincerely apologize to all of you. It is important that you read this message as we have muted the chat until further notice. The message contains all the information that you currently need to know. We are truly sorry for the financial loss that you've encountered, both as a consequence of Titan dropping to zero, and because Iron being unable to maintain the $1 price peg. However, currently there is nothing that we can do to restore the ideal $1 peg price for Iron, or level the Titan token up from the ground. This has been caused by a flawed mechanism behind Iron. Now, I want to say this is important. There were a lot of people in Telegram assuming that somehow the devs could wave a magic wand and get Iron back on peg. They were assuming somehow the devs could raise a magic wand, change the code that was hard-coded, that's the way smart contracts work on purpose, change the code somehow and rise Titan up from the dead. There are people still buying Titan tokens. It's mind-blowing. For this reason, it is crucial that you remove all of your investments from Iron Finance and from Diamond Hand as well. This includes all the staked LP tokens and the single token staking pools as well. Even if Iron Finance relaunches with a new improved protocol, it will not use any of these currently existing tokens, since the financial mechanism behind the Iron Finance proved to be incapable of maintaining price stability for Iron. We repeat, please do not buy Iron on either Polygon or BSC, and also do not buy Steel and DND or any of the D tokens, DBTC, DBNB, DETH, DDOT, and DATA on BSC. This tells me that they're going to make some changes to the BSC side or somehow try to phase it out. This is absolutely possible on Binance Smart Chain. You need to understand that. Please do not use a Dragon Ball lottery either. Should you have one with your ticket, please contact this guy. Here you can find a complete guide for every LP and single staking pool and about how to remove your investments and how to redeem Iron for collateral. We showed you that earlier in the video. Remember, we will not DM you, and anybody who claims to be from the team of Iron Finance is trying to scam you. Correct? Be careful for this right here. If you get mysterious DMs, they're not legit, even if they look legit. Please keep following this Telegram group and the official announcements. There are official communication channels where we will post further updates. This will also be on Twitter, and they got the Twitter link here. We would like everyone to know that we are all sorry for what has happened and that we are truly devastated. We hope that soon we can come back with some positive news, and we are truly sorry. Look, I get that they're sorry, but there's only so much to be sorry about. Like, there was a possibility that this could occur, just like there's a possibility that if you have $1 million in your local bank, you're not going to get it back. And people say, oh, well, my bank's insured up to $250,000, so I'll get that back. Do you understand what it would take the government to give you? If there was a nationwide bank run, the government could give you back $250,000, and it would probably be worth about $250, meaning that's all it would buy. It would devalue our currency so fast. That $250,000 FDIC insurance is an illusion when it comes to a nationwide bank run. If there's a local region or a local county or a state or one bank or two banks, yes, you would probably be made whole in that case. But if it was a nationwide bank run on a large conglomerate, it's kind of over with. That's an explanation for a whole nother day. But it's one of the reasons that I'm in cryptocurrency. Ladies and gentlemen, this technology is extraordinary, but it is high-risk technology. It is brand new. It is experimental. So much of this stuff on smart contracts is always experimental. This is quintessential smart contract risk. When people say, what is smart contract risk? When something can perform within the smart contract without breaking, meaning you didn't have to break anything, you didn't have to find an exploit. It just performed, but it was an outside parameter. It wasn't likely to occur. It should not have happened under typical use. And that's essentially what happened here, unfortunately. Now, going forward, one thing that I think that is positive here is I think people are going to have more. I mean, there was a lot of people in this. There's a lot of people that got hurt. But for a good percentage, the people who are going to make it in crypto quick, the people who are going to get ahead, they're going to learn from this. They're going to say, okay, I thought I was ready for the risk until I lost it all. I mean, there are people who just don't understand. Like, if you go up, people are like, I came out of the Iron Titan liquidity pool, but I don't have nothing but Titan left. It's worthless. What am I supposed to do? What do you mean? That was the risk of being in you don't understand how liquidity pools work. Of course you only have Titan left. I get a little bit frustrated because I want people to understand what they're getting into, and I want them to avoid getting into things they shouldn't get into, because it causes unnecessary damage to the individual financially, but at the same time, it hurts the ecosystem because people didn't realize their risk, so now they got hurt, they got burned, and they won't go back into the ecosystem. Decentralized finance is extraordinary. Already, if you think about the idea that you can actually go take an uncollateralized loan on someplace like Aave, which I would not do personally, by the way. Why in the world would I go put $1,000 on Aave to get 3, 4, 5% interest so I can pull out half of it to invest somewhere? Why would I increase my risk because I got a loan? And there is stablecoin risk, and people don't realize that. But increase my risk, and there's platform risk. Venus got exploited on Binance Smart Chain, so there's always going to be a platform risk. There's a stablecoin risk. And why in the world would I only use half of my funds to make an investment, decreasing my profitability? No, I'll just take the risk on my investment and increase my profitability by the full use of my capital. But again, another video for another day, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully this has been a learning experience for all of us. And hopefully Mark Cuban will stop calling this a rug. I don't know if I want centralized governments giving us stablecoin regulations. Let me know down in the comments. Do you want stablecoin regulations from centralized governments? I'm on the fence about it. I mean, I would prefer a decentralized option, but if it doesn't exist, then maybe we need some sort of regulations. What are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. Also, if you love to earn passive income, go down in the description, subscribe to our Crypto Passive Profits newsletter. Decentralized cryptocurrency equals freedom. This is Crypto Wealth. I'm out.